Entry-level small cars are the bread earners for most car makers. They are either bought as first-time cars or as an additional car in the family. However, now there is a new trend. Entry-level hatchbacks are seeing an increased demand amongst the youth, and therefore it is imperative for car makers to meet the demands of this new set of car buyers. What we have here are two such cars that aim to attract the young buyer, the Hyundai Eon and the Tata Nano. Both these cars are placed quite far apart on pricing, making them an unlikely pair to be compared. However, the Nano and the Eon are the trendiest entry-level hatchbacks from two of the country's leading car makers. Let's find out which one of the two is a worthy buy as your first car. The first thing that one notices about both these cars is their striking design. In a market that is full of boring and boxy hatchbacks, these two tall boys manage to look remarkably different. The Eon borrows the futuristic design philosophy that has made its larger siblings so popular today. It has an array of organic lines that try to mimic the flow of nature. However, on a pint-sized car like this, all those lines and creases look overdone. The styling of the tail lights looks nice and futuristic, but move over to the front end and the face looks like it's frowning. And then there are the skinny tires, which look disproportionate when compared to the brawny styling of the car. The wow factor of the other Hyundai cars is missing on this hatchback, primarily because of its diminutive dimensions. The Tata Nano is a car that probably believes that creases are for old fogies. Instead, it's gone for a youthful approach with its brighty and sporty colors and contemporary styling. The Nano's design looks balanced and the car appears to be more fun-loving than the overtly muscular Eon. We also like the design of the air damps next to the rear doors, which makes the car look sporty too. The special edition model that we have tested here also brings alloy wheels to the table, adding further to its sporty poise. The fluidic design language looks impressive across the entire range of Hyundai cars, and the Eon is no exception. But I believe that an entry-level small car should look innocent and handsome, which the Nano pulls off quite well. But looks alone are not the driving factor while making a buying decision. The car needs to emphasize on function as well. Both the Eon and the Nano are tall boy designs. However, because the Nano's doors open wide, getting in and out of the car is a tad easier than in the Eon. Once inside, you'll immediately notice that the Eon tries to mimic its external appearance on the inside too. The design looks modern and premium. The quality of the plastics also feels and looks better than the competition. But while the design looks pleasing, space is a concern. The rear seat of the Eon in particular feels cramped. In a bid to have a decent amount of boot space, the rear legroom of the Eon feels compromised, and the narrow glass house takes away the airy feel as well. The Tata Nano is quite quirky in this regard. To begin with, it doesn't have a fully functional boot, but does display some clever use of space, like this for example. Even the passenger space has been designed quite wisely and maximizes legroom and headroom for both the rows. The design of the dashboard and the central console is simple. With the roominess and airy feel of the cabin coupled with a powerful air conditioning system, the Tata Nano definitely scores an upper hand over the Eon and most other entry-level hatchbacks when it comes to cabin comfort. Believe it or not, but an audio system is something that buyers look forward to when making a shift from two-wheelers to four-wheelers. The Eon, like most other Hyundai cars, does a very good job in this regard. Since this car stresses on design, the audio head unit is integrated within the dashboard. The speakers sound almost as good as the ones in the i10. The Nano that we have tested here comes with a blow-punched audio unit. It isn't a dashboard integrated unit and therefore looks old school. But the brighter side is that such a system is low on maintenance, and in case you decide to upgrade to a higher spec unit at a later stage, it is as simple as swapping in the new one. The audio quality of the unit is very good. The system supports USB and auxiliary inputs as well. Let's talk about the mechanicals of the two cars. The Eon is powered by an 814cc engine, which is essentially a 3-cylinder version of the Santro's 4-cylinder mill. It produces a maximum of 56 PS of power and 75 Nm of torque. The engine has the typical burble of a 3-cylinder motor, but ironically it is more audible inside the cabin than on the outside, especially when you keep it on the boil. The engine isn't as refined as the mills in the i10, but Hyundai has done a good job of keeping the vibes low. The engine feels a tad sluggish in the mid-range and therefore overtaking can be cumbersome at times. The Nano has a smaller engine out of the two cars, a 624cc 2-cylinder petrol unit that produces 38 PS of power and 51 Nm of torque. The figures might sound diminutive, but the engine does its job pretty well, since the Nano weighs only 600 kilos. The lighter weight also translates into better fuel economy. Now mileage might not be the #1 concern for the youth, but with its class-leading ARAI stated mileage of 25.35 km per litre, the Nano scores a point over Eon at a time when fuel prices continue to rise. Coming to the driving dynamics, the Nano rides really well. It has a short wheelbase, but the tires are placed in the far corners of the car, giving it a very good balance when changing lanes and turning. The ground clearance is very good too, so tackling bad roads isn't a problem. The Eon has the longest wheelbase in its class, and it rides quite well. But the car gets a fair bit of body roll too, which can get quite unnerving at times. The car gets an electronic power steering system. However, it has a dead feel to it. There is no feedback at all. The Nano gets a conventional steering system instead. That works great with a city car like this and gives good feedback when you choose to play Schumacher and attack in corners. Out of the two cars, the Eon scores high on ride comfort, while the Nano feels more sprightly while being high on fuel economy. While the Eon comes with a 2-year unlimited warranty, the Nano manages to edge past with a 4-year 60,000 km promise on the warranty card, and that is promise big enough for consumers who may have concerns with the Nano's longevity. So if you sum it up, the Eon does everything pretty well, but the overdone styling is a matter of subjective preference. To me, the Nano looks like the more innocent, trendy and sporty looking entry-level hatchback that I would buy. Even on the performance front, the Nano edges ahead with a more sprightly drive and a roomy cabin, making it more fun than its rivals. Especially with the kind of pricing the package comes at, it is like an underdog that does everything right without making you feel shortchanged. In fact, the top-end version of the Nano demands lesser money than the base Eon, which is an important factor when making a shift from a two-wheeler to a four-wheeler.